we need to talk about some fanfiction tropes. Oh, hi there. I hope you're all having a great day so far, and I hope you drank a lot of water, and hopefully you prepared a beverage or two and a snack, because this video is probably gonna be pretty long. This video is going to be less edited, and in this video I'm basically going to give my own commentary about one of the most popular videos that people who discuss fanfiction do. I took inspiration for this video from other YouTubers who already discussed pretty much the same topic about fanfiction tropes, and I will link their videos down below in the description if you want to see other people's opinions and if you want to see how they redistributed their tropes in this tier list. This video is about ranking the fanfiction tropes, and we have a specific scale of how we're going to rank fanfiction tropes. And now I am just going to go back to my screen, and I'm going to screen record and guide you through my own opinion and provide some insightful commentary about whether I like the tropes or if I'm going to absolutely kink shame the tropes, which will probably happen because I am highly opinionated about some tropes and I probably won't like them at all. So let's see, and let's get on to the screen recording. Alright, here we are on my screen, and as you can see on your screens as well, we are at tiermaker.com, which is a website where you can create these tier lists or charts and kind of customize them for yourselves. Basically how this video is going to work, I'm going to go through all the tropes that we have on the very bottom of the screen, and I'm going to place them in one of the 6 categories that we see on the top, depending on whether I like them or I just don't like them. So let me just explain the categories for a second. We have 6 categories, and it goes from kink shamed at the bottom, which means absolute disgust, you hate it, you won't read it, not my thing, when there's nothing else to read, I will allow it, yes please, and which means basically I can't even in Tumblr lingo. You know, you love it so much that you just can't even. Alright, so first up we have gender swap. This trope was extremely popular on Tumblr, I believe, in 2014. And I remember that people did fan casts of like gender swapped characters, and you know, they tagged them on Tumblr under hashtag gender swap. Gender swap at the time, like back when I was, I don't know, 18, 19, back in like 2014, it seemed like a fun idea, but would I read a fanfic with gender swap? I mean, no, it's totally not my thing. I think it's completely unnecessary. If you have to bend, you know, these characters in a way that they're, I don't know, heteronormative or something, I think that's just problematic in itself. So I'm just gonna say not my thing, and let's move on to coffee/bookshop AU, or alternate universe. This is such a cute trope, and basically it is kind of like an alternate universe fanfic. It has a lot to do with Fluff as well, where just 2 characters are in this situation where they're like in a coffee shop, bookshop, or anywhere that screams domestic energy. So I kind of like this. It's fluffy, it's cute, it's very innocent, and when done correctly, I think it's definitely, you know, my thing as well. All right, let me just put it here. Yes, please. All right, next up, we have soulmates. See, this is an interesting one because there's usually different interpretations of soulmates. Obviously, I personally just don't buy it at all. I don't think that you have one soulmate. I think you have multiple people throughout your life that appear to be good for you in that specific life situation. So I don't really believe in soulmates. But you know, in a sense, when you read a fanfic that has like magic in it or any fantasy elements, soulmates can be a fun trope to explore. If it's just plain like normal life, average people, that's not really my thing because it's too plain, I think, and it's been overdone so much. You know, I think I will allow it I'm not too keen, but I think I'm just gonna allow it. All right, PWP, which means porn without plot. Do we like porn without plot? That kind of depends, because usually, I mean, obviously, you know, you can enjoy PWP if you want, but I enjoy when I have a little bit of context, you know, a little bit of a slow burn, so that I can actually enjoy that moment when it comes. Porn without plot can be okay, can be fun, but, you know, I'm not really gonna actively search for it because it's kind of like boring in the end. Sad ending. Well, you know, I usually don't like to feel sad when I read a fanfic, but when done correctly, if it actually makes sense for the story, I mean, I'm gonna read it. I'm probably gonna enjoy it, so I think that I am going to allow it as well. First time. When we say first time, it can be pretty much anything, any first time, you know. It can be sexual, it can be non-sexual, it can be platonic, anything else, but it is also a very commonly used trope, very overused, but I do enjoy it, actually. I've read some very, very fun fanfics where, you know, they weren't necessarily sexual, but, you know, two people were experiencing some things for the first time together, and it just made a lot of sense at that time, and it was really, really well written. So it doesn't have to be sexual, it can be purely platonic, it can be basically any two people experiencing a brand new experience together, you know, and or it can be sexual as well, which is also pretty much fun to read because everybody's super clumsy for the first time, so that's also kind of cute. Okay, BDSM. BDSM is completely fine to me if it's written correctly, if it's written with consent among two consensual adults, and, you know, if it actually makes sense for the story, I am totally okay with it. On the flip side, if we have two characters that are, you know, supposedly doing BDSM, but then it turns out to be like torture or something else, awkward and weird, then I'm just stepping back basically, and I'm closing the fanfic and never reading it again, because I'm not into that. If it's consensual, if it's, you know, among two adults that have, you know, they have to have boundaries, they have to, you know, follow specific rules of BDSM, then I am completely fine with it. So I'm not gonna actively search for it, but I will allow it, like, honestly. So, right. Fluff. Fluff is one of those categories that kind of has a lot to do, or is very similar to coffee shop or bookshop AU. And I really like it because it's also super innocent and super cute. And I definitely enjoy occasional fluff. I think it's really fun. I think it's adorable. And I definitely would read something like that. And I have been reading a lot of fluff lately, so why not? Next category. The category is smut. Alright, you know, first of all, smut is a pretty awful word. It's like, it's up there with moist and other words that are kind of like yucky. But, you know, it is smut, it is sexual content. So also, that has, you know, smut, it's not the same as porn without plot, because porn without plot is just porn without plot. It doesn't have any substantial plot or, you know, none at all. But smut can be incorporated into pretty much anything. It can be incorporated in everything. And if written correctly, and I love when sex scenes are written correctly. I mean, it's supposed to engage the audience. It's supposed to feel like you're there, you know? If it achieves that effect, I mean, I like smut. I'm never against good smut. It just has to be written in a good way to engage me and to make me want to keep reading. So I think I will definitely read, or I would read, a fanfic with this specific trope. Angst. Oh, okay. Angst is, you know, this is one of my guilty pleasures, honestly. as much as I hate conflict in real life, and as much as I hate angst in real life, I do enjoy occasional angsty fanfic because I just like to see how these characters squirm and are passively aggressive with each other. I mean, I kind of enjoy it, so I'm gonna say yes, please. Alright, so enemies to lovers. Also, one of the tropes that's been done to death, pretty much. And I've read some really good fanfics that maybe like subverted the trope, and I've read some bad ones that didn't do jack shit to it. So my opinion about this trope is pretty, like, I'm pretty indifferent. I mean, it can be done pretty well, but most of the time it's just very bland. I like some fanfics that are written with this trope. Most of the time, they're just not really my thing, and I'm probably gonna read it if I have nothing better to do and if I can't find anything. Alright, next up we have fake dating. Well, fake dating is a pretty vague category, but it's basically when two people are pretending to date because there's something and they have to, you know, fake date so that they could trick somebody into, I don't know, thinking that they're together. It's kind of it's an odd concept. Like, I can't really like wrap my mind around it. It's a little bit weird, not gonna lie. I don't know why anybody would do that, but sure. So yeah, that's not really my thing. I think this is pretty. I think it's like really playing safe. You know, you want to bring two people together, you don't know what to do, and then you kind of create this super bizarre scenario where these two people have to like pretend that they're dating, and then they're like together all the time, and then they fall in love. I mean, it's pretty safe, but not really my thing, honestly. Miscommunication. Okay, miscommunication is very similar to angst, which obviously happens in real life a lot. Even though I really don't like miscommunication in real life, I hate it. I hate it. I actively try to communicate everything so clearly on my end, but it happens, you know? And sometimes it can be overdone because, you know, not all people react to miscommunication in the same way, and authors sometimes have a tendency to infantilize their characters, you know, and make them act like kids or teenagers when they're like grown-ass adults that just don't know how to communicate, which is obviously weird. Even though I put angst in the second category, I mean, I'm gonna say that I'm gonna allow miscommunication, but I'm not like the biggest fan. Alright, here it is. Okay, this is probably like one of my favorites. You know, I read a lot of slow burn fanfics, but it's just when there's a very good story that is developed over hundreds and hundreds of pages, and when you get to that point when something specifically like huge happens, it's so gratifying. Like, I absolutely love it, and I'm also speechless as this person was when she was creating this category, because this is probably one of my, if not my favorite, all-time favorite trope in fanfiction. I absolutely love it. Time loop. I don't really understand this trope. Like, if somebody could explain this, the appeal of this trope, I don't get it. Like, there were so many movies that, you know, had this trope, usually comedies, romantic comedies. So I mean, I don't think it's cute. I think it's kind of like bizarre in my opinion. Amnesia, also a trope that is very similar to time loop in my opinion, because usually in movies they group these two together. 50 First Dates, who? Like, that's the first thing that pops into my mind when I hear Amnesia. But I don't understand this. Like, somebody forgets everything about themselves, and then there's the other person that has to guide them. It's like a little bit too codependent for me. I don't understand it too much, so it's gonna go to not my thing category. Crackfic. Okay, I mean, this is a, you know, this is basically a shitposting trope. This is basically something that you read when there's nothing else to read and you just want to have fun. You just want to laugh. And that's exactly where I'm going to put it. I'm going to put it in when there's nothing to read. Okay, so now we have college AU. I mean, I will allow it. I've certainly read some college AUs that were pretty good, and it's usually, you know, if it's done correctly, if it makes sense with the story, I'm not opposed to it. It's not a fairly creative trope, but I'm okay with that. I don't really mind it. Alright, magic AU is the next one. So magic is, obviously, you can put magic into any fanfic, and if it makes sense, it's gonna be good. So also, I will allow it. I'm never like actively searching for this trope in non-magic fandoms, but if, you know, if it appears, I'm not gonna be opposed to it. I do like my fantasy, sci-fi, and magic fandoms, so I'm gonna be okay with it. Dark fic. I don't know what they mean with dark fic, like dark themes. I don't know, alcoholism, drug abuse, other dark topics. Because, yeah, I mean, if done correctly, I'm okay with that. I'm all for topics that intrigue you, that actually start a discussion. I'm completely okay with that. You know, and if done correctly, and if the characters are actually well written, this can be a phenomenal trope to use to kind of like heighten certain aspects of that person's personality or certain scenarios. So I definitely enjoy it. Happy ending. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I enjoy a happy ending. I usually don't like fanfics that are extremely dark, because it's not gratifying at the very end. Happy endings, you know, when done correctly, especially in this combination, slow burn / happy ending, it's so cute. I mean, it's adorable. And if you want to feel good about reading something, you should definitely search for something like that. You know, slow burn / happy ending category. Forced proximity. Okay, so from my understanding, it's basically when you put two characters, or you basically put them in a situation where they have to either collaborate, work together, or more like literally inhabit or be in the same space or room, or even the same bed, you know. I mean, look, I'm gonna be so annoying because I'm gonna say this on every trope, but if done correctly, this is basically okay. And forced proximity is also something that is pretty compatible with enemies to lovers. So, but it doesn't imply that you have to be enemies, you know, in order for this to happen. So I will allow it. It's not something that I, you know, am crazy about, but if it happens, it's also exactly, well, not exactly the same, but it's very similar to fake dating, but it's not as extreme. It's not as extreme of a convenience for the author to, you know, write them. So it's a little bit better than fake dating, so I'm just gonna allow it. Alright, mutual pining. So that's basically two people that are mutually in love with each other, but they won't admit that, and a lot of time is probably going to pass until they do. So this is very compatible with the slow burn fanfics that I usually enjoy, which deserves the first category because I absolutely love that. Established relationship. Yeah, well, you know, it also depends on, you know, the execution, obviously, but I'm okay with that. I'm just gonna allow it, basically, yeah. Unless you do this weird thing where you establish a relationship, but a relationship is crappy as hell, and then you introduce the love triangle, which we will cover in a few minutes, hopefully. then I'm like not okay with it, because then what's the point, honestly? But I'm okay with it if the established relationship is okay, if it's good. You know, if these two characters are actually totally into each other, I'm fine with it. I think it's perfectly fine. Oh, Unrequited Love. Oh, that is so cute. Even though it's painful and awful, but you know, as I said, I love angst sometimes, and this is in this domain of angsty fanfiction that I really enjoy. So I'm just gonna say yes, I absolutely want it. I'm gonna say incoherent words when I put this into the first category. Friends with benefits. Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I'm just gonna allow it because it happens. It's perfectly fine. It is absolutely a valid trope to use, and I haven't noticed too many people use it lately. Maybe I'm reading wrong fanfiction, but I mean, I think it's pretty much okay. I think it's cool to explore casual relationships in fanfics, and you know, usually you have these like huge karmic relationships or unrequited love, but you don't really have a lot of relationships where things are casual, don't you? It's either at 100 or at 0. It's never like at 50. So I mean, I think I do enjoy it. Secret relationship. Well, I am not exactly like, I don't hate it, but at the same time, it's a very worn out trope. Like, what are you hiding? Why are you hiding stuff? What's at the stake? You know? Why is this relationship secret? Unless there is a good reason that this relationship is secret, I am usually like not gonna be too much into it. So, sharing clothes. I mean, it's fine. It doesn't really tug on my heartstrings or anything. I don't really feel anything specific when I see this trope. I guess it can be cute. I haven't read too many fanfics with this trope, but I think it can be okay. Hurt/comfort. Hurt/comfort basically means when a person is going through tough times, the other person is there to comfort them. And I think that is really nice, and that establishes a relationship in a very nice and positive light. So I definitely do enjoy reading about that, and I will definitely allow it. And not just allow it, I'm gonna put it in the second category. Yes, please. Okay, high school AU. So let me see where I put my college AU. All right, well, this is a tricky one because sometimes it doesn't really make sense to put the original characters in a high school if they're already adults. But at the same time, if it's just flashbacks, I'm fine with it. But generally not my thing. I don't actively search for fanfics with this specific topic. Historical AU. Also, I think that I do enjoy it if it's done correctly, if it's put in a specific time era where things actually make sense. I do enjoy a good historical fanfic. I am a history geek, generally in life. I love reading about stuff and about history, so when I see a fanfic that is written in a historically accurate way, I geek out a little bit, and I think that's a good thing. So next we have arranged marriage, which this is gonna be I can already see, like, this is going to be one of, I think, the first trope that I'm gonna put in the Kinkshaming category among all the rest, because I really don't like this, because, you know, unless it's a historical AU, and then it maybe makes sense. I don't really enjoy forcing my characters to do something that they don't want to do. It's just not something that I enjoy reading. I don't like when people are forced to abide specific rules that they don't enjoy, you know, and that's just it. I don't enjoy it. King shamed. Next up, okay. ABO, more known as Omegaverse or Alpha Beta Omega. This is absolutely going into the King Shame category because I tried, you guys. I tried to understand it, but I just cannot take this seriously at all. I read so much about it. I watched numerous videos on the topic. I just cannot get behind this concept. Like the whole Megaverse caste system. What? No. No, 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 no. This is something that I cannot get behind and never will get behind. So I'm king shaming this to death. Love triangle. Also, well, one of the most overdone tropes in the history of all media, but I will allow it because I like to torture myself and I'm fine. And sometimes, I'm not gonna lie, I've watched so many different CW shows or any teen shows where there were love triangles, and I absolutely like the shows, you know, and I don't have a problem with it at all. It is cringy sometimes, but I don't have a specific problem with this. Character death. Well, as I said previously, I don't usually go for fanfics that are gonna hurt me too much. So when there's nothing to read, I'm probably gonna be okay with character death or two, but otherwise, I'm not really gonna go for that much of a dark topic. So we're just gonna put this in when there's nothing to read category. Second up, we have a pregnancy fic, which is absolutely gonna go to King Shamed because I do not like when people fetishize pregnancies, and that just doesn't really make sense to me, and it's a little bit disgusting to me when people fetishize pregnancies and everything like that. And if they not fetishize it, then it's usually a pregnancy that is not wanted, which is it's a traumatizing experience. So I really do not like pregnancy fics, and I just don't want to read about it. It's a bit too real for my taste. Alright, next up, domestic fluff. Well, since this is basically the same category as fluff, but it's basically among two people that probably live together in the same house or apartment, so it's gonna go into the same category because it's absolutely adorable and innocent. Canon Complaint. This is a very umbrella category. It can be anything, you know. But a Canon Complaint is basically when a original work of art is so bad or people are so dissatisfied that they create their own versions, basically. They just completely reduce some specific parts of the story and make them hopefully better for both them and for the readers. So I have nothing against this. I've read so many Supernatural Canon Complaint fanfics after the finale because that finale was absolutely the worst, and I still haven't recovered and probably never will because that show basically, it took everything and it just flushed it down the drain with this finale, and I'm still pissed off about Supernatural. I'm so sorry. But yes, I'm okay with the Canon Complaint. I approve it. Age difference. No. I don't like this. I do not like this because it's usually done in a very weird way. I mean, I'm not gonna say the P word, but because I don't want to get demonetized on YouTube, but you know what I mean. It has those vibes. It has the P vibes, and I'm not into that. I like my characters, you know, to be two consenting adults that do shit together. Big age difference, no thank you. Next. Big guy, little guy. I mean, is it just physically, or because if it's just like based on physical attributes, I don't really see the appeal in this one. I mean, I guess it's supposed to be like cute and fluffy, you know, the big guy is gonna protect the small guy, but not really my thing. It's too specific, you know? I don't really like that. Oh, everybody is gay. I mean, yes. I rarely read fully heterosexual fanfiction because it's usually like not as interesting as slash fiction or fan fiction that has like multiple sexualities involved. So I definitely love that. I am all for slash fanfics, and I completely love them, and I approve wholeheartedly. Locked in a room. Okay, so there's some tropes that are kind of like very, very similar to each other. Locked in a room, very similar to forced proximity, where I'm gonna put it as well, because if done correctly, it's a very easy trope to use. When you don't know how to move on with the plot, you can just use this, or forced proximity, and something is gonna happen between two people. It's just inevitable, you know? So I'm just gonna put this in the I'll allow it category. All right, so what do we have? We have a couple of more. Reader insert. Oh, that's the YN. You know, that's just not my thing. I don't know, you guys. Like, people have told me to be like more open-minded about YNs. I admit I am not very open-minded, because back in my day, you know, when I was young, I mean, I'm still fairly young, but when I was a teenager, I read a lot of cringy self-insert, reader insert fanfics, and I just, even back then, I was like 14, 15, I did not like them. I thought that they were cringy. And all the characters that were supposed to be like me, all the self-insert characters were just, you know, self-gratifications, and they were very basic and plain. Very Mary Sue-y, and I don't like that. So no, not my thing. Oops, only one bed. Okay, I mean, yeah, I will allow it. It's fine. It's like, it's exactly the same as forced proximity or locked in a room, but it's just even more specific. So it's like, oops, you know what? I mean, you have a room, you have a hotel room, but you know, you just have one bed, and unfortunately you're gonna have to sleep in a queen-size bed, even though you're two dude bros that you don't want to do that. But I guess you'll have to, unless you want to sleep on the floor, and you know, they inevitably do sleep in the same bed, and obviously some shit happens, or there's some kind of gay panic involved, which is, you know, fine, that happens.
Two bros chilling in the hot tub, 5 feet apart cause they're not gay.
But it's a very easy trope to execute, you know? It's an easy way out. But I will allow it. I'm not gonna kink shame it. Oh my god, they were roommates.
And they were roommates.
Oh my god, they were roommates.
Roommates AU. Yeah. I mean, it's... Again, like, there are so many tropes that are literally the same things. They're just nuances involved. Literally, roommates AU is kind of like exactly the same as forced proximity, locked in a room, and oops, only one bed. Except roommates don't necessarily have to share a bed. But they might, I don't know. But I'm okay with it, because oh my god, they were roommates is a fun trope to explore, not gonna lie. So I will definitely allow it. Alright, this is a very small text, so forgive me for not being able to read it. Oh, we're not gay, we just love each other. You know. Look, you don't have to label yourself as necessarily gay or anything specific, but if that sentence appears in a fanfic or any fictional work, be it a movie, a TV show, a book, anything, I mean, I'm probably gonna lose a little bit of respect for that author, because to me, that is like standard queer baiting. It's very, you know, it has those queer baity vibes. And I remember, I'm so sorry, but I have to bring up Sherlock, BBC's Sherlock. Okay, so in season 2 of BBC's Sherlock, there was this scene between Irene Adler and John Watson where both of them have this like heart-to-heart, and supposedly, you know, John Watson is a straight man and Irene Adler is decidedly a lesbian woman, but they at the same time love Sherlock so much that it doesn't really matter. Like, they don't want to put labels on it, which is, you know, okay, but it's like bullshit, because then that's a very good segue to continuing to queer bait your audiences even more, and I just don't like that, because we've seen so much queer baiting over the past, I don't know, decades, that it's like, why do people do this? Like, haven't we progressed at least a little bit? Because that just makes me really pissed off. So no, if you like somebody, you don't have to put labels, specific labels, but don't give me this bullshit. Don't give me the bullshit like, oh, you know, it's like no homo, but we love each other. So no, it's not my thing. Sorry, I'm a little bit passionate about this trope, apparently. Didn't know they were dating. Okay, well, that's a weird one, because how do you not know that you're dating? Like, are you friends with benefits? Are you just, I don't know, sleeping together and you never discussed it, but, you know, you're actually dating? Because, you know, that's... Or is it, like, a miscommunication issue? Because that could be it, you know? So, no, not my thing. People, you need to communicate a little bit better. Creature fic. Why do I feel that this is actually something to do with furries? I mean, I don't want to Google it, but does this have anything to do with furries? Because if it does, or if it's, you know, about anthropomorphic animals, I'm just gonna kink shame that really quickly, because I'm not into that. Like, no, don't bring animals into this, girl. That's just not it, okay? I can't. Okay, let's shut up about furries, and let's move on to the next category. Crossover. When two fandoms, you know, cross over or emerge. I haven't read many good examples of this, so I'd say that it's not my thing generally, you know? Because usually it's just too many characters from too many different settings, and it's usually a mess of a fanfic, and it doesn't make sense, and there are too many characters. So no, not my thing. Fix-it fic. I think that's basically in the same category as Canon Complaint. Like, when you have a specific outcome of a TV show, book, or a movie that the fandom really doesn't like, they try to fix it in their own ways by diverging from the canon, you know, and writing some other plots that actually make sense in that universe. So yeah, I will definitely allow it. And as I said, when I talked about Canon Complaint, I read a lot of supernatural fanfics that tried to fix this mess of a finale. Like, and, you know, most of them couldn't, because the mess didn't even begin with the finale. It began all the way back to, like, I don't know, 13th season. I don't know. It's just, that show went for too long, and I'm not okay with it. Anyway, fuck or die. I don't understand this. Is this like a crack fic, or is it like is that supposed to be like taken super seriously? Because I can't take it seriously. I mean, no. And, you know, also, as I said, I do not feel comfortable when characters are put in situations where they just don't want to be. If there isn't consent between two parties, I'm not okay with any frick-fracking, okay? Alright, next up we have genfic, and basically it means that this is a fanfic that doesn't necessarily focus on romance or sex, which I'm completely fine with. And there's some really good fanfics about platonic friendships and just different characters having different experiences with other things that are not romantic or sexual. I do enjoy this from time to time. I think it's interesting to like spice it up a little bit. Not everything has to do with romance or sex, so I think that's good. I think it's good to have variety in fanfics. Slash fiction, yes. As I said, I don't read a lot of hetero fanfiction just because most of it is not written as well as, you know, slash fiction. Because usually, like, when you look at straight characters and their romances in movies, TV shows, and books, they're not very well written. You know, they just kind of like put two people together and then they say, you know, now you're just gonna kiss, now you're gonna be together, and they don't have any chemistry, and it's just a whole mess. It's not, you know, I'm not talking about all ships, but I'm talking about most ships. So they never really pay attention to bringing these people together closely, or paying attention to actually developing some chemistry between them. And I hate when they do that. I hate when a relationship like just happens out of the blue, completely uncalled. I just don't like that. I like when things have, you know, make sense, basically. Even if it's a fictional world, I like when things make sense. Slash fiction is always going to be very dear to my heart because it's the first type of fanfiction that I started reading when I was like 12 or 13, so it makes sense. It's very dear to my heart. Alright, moving on. Kid fic. This is, I think, exactly like high school AU. It's just not my thing, you know? If we have two characters that are established as adults, and then we create a fanfic of them as kids, to me, that doesn't make any sense at all. If we have like specific flashbacks to their childhood, if something happened in their childhood that could maybe like explain why they are behaving this way, or if they have some unresolved trauma in their childhood or from their childhood, that makes sense. Like a flashback or two, that makes sense. But if we take adult characters and completely infantilize them and put them in children's bodies and mindsets, that's kind of like creepy, and I really don't like that. Alright, mpreg. So that's one of those that I'm gonna absolutely kink shame. As I said, I'm not into pregnancies, especially not in fictional work, and male pregnancies are fetishized to death, which I don't think that you should do. I don't think that you should fetishize pregnancies, and I don't think that there's anything to fetishize in a pregnancy. It's not supposed to be sexual, and I just feel awkward and weird, and I just don't like it. So kink shame, because kink shaming is my kink, and I'm not afraid to show it.
Calling people daddy is gross. Stop kink shaming me. Kink shaming is my kink.
Drunken confessions. I have a soft spot for this one because I've read some fanfics that are including this trope in a very interesting and spicy way, and I love it. I think it's fun, and I think it's very realistic, which I'm all here for. So, drunk confessions, yes please. Childhood friends. Well, you know, it's fine, I guess. It depends on the story. If they establish two people as childhood friends, I'm not gonna be opposed to it. If it actually makes sense with the story, it's completely fine. Canon divergence. As I said, this is very similar to Canon Complaint, and Canon Complaint. That's very similar to that, and I definitely will put this canon divergence in the same category, because if you have complaints about the canon, you're gonna diverge the canon, obviously, in a specific direction. So I'm just going to put this one here. And last but not least, bully, which I suppose it means that one character bullies the other character. And I'm not really sure where they're going with this. Is this like enemies to lovers? type of trope, is that the same? Is that like the subcategory of this trope, or if it's a completely different thing where they bully them and then they're like, I don't know, sexually attracted to them? Because if that's the case, I'm afraid that I'm gonna have to kink shame you as well, because I don't like this. I mean, it doesn't really, like, okay, first of all, I'm not gonna say that it doesn't happen in real life, but it happens, and it's very Stockholm syndrome-y, and I just feel disgusting when I read it. I don't like it. I don't like to feel disgusted when I read stuff, so no, I really don't like that. And I remember that there was this One Direction fanfic. I don't even like One Direction, honestly. I don't even know which fic that was, but basically that and yeah, it was a self-insert, you know. I know that you asked. It was a self-insert, obviously, as pretty much all 1D fanfics are. And in that fanfic, Harry Styles was like bullying this girl, like straight up bullying her. But then what happened? They fell in love and they had sex, and that's it. That's the story. And I don't know if I imagined it or if I'm talking about after, but it doesn't even matter. It's horrible. So yeah, it's gonna be kink shamed. All right, I think we covered all. Wow, that was a long one. I think I have to drink some tea to kind of like wet my throat a little bit, because that my throat is sore after talking so much. I don't talk this much usually in my videos, so. But we got everything covered, so I think this is a pretty good example of which things I'm gonna kink shame. And you know, I'm not really feeling defensive about this. You probably have other opinions, but I absolutely cannot stand the things that I put into the kink shame category, and I'm not gonna apologize for not liking them, and I'm not gonna give them a chance because I already did. And I hated them. It was awful. It was an awful experience. I do not enjoy it. But at the same time, we have some really good stuff at the very top. We have Slow Burn, Mutual Pining, Unrequited Love, and Slash, which are my guilty pleasures, basically, while reading fanfiction. So I really hope you enjoyed my commentary on these tropes. It was a lot of fun to discuss this, and if you want, you can do the same by going to the tier maker. I'm gonna leave this chart in the description as well, along with other videos from other YouTubers that did the same thing, so you can compare how we have different opinions, basically. So, as I said, I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give it a like, maybe share it with your friends, and subscribe to my channel for more similar content. I put out social commentary, and I talk about pop culture most of the time. But I do have an ongoing fanfiction series, which this video is going to be a part of as well. So please subscribe if you are into those things. And if you want me to discuss anything specific, fandom related, pop culture related, or fanfiction related, feel free to write down in the comments, like anything, pretty much. So yeah, that's gonna be it for this video, and I'm just gonna continue drinking this tea, and I will see you hopefully very soon.